Hey there, this is No BS Radio, Grown as Fuck Edition. This is your host, Leslie Noble. Before we get into today's episode, hear this clearly. This podcast is for educational and insight only. It is not therapy, it's not a substitute for mental health treatment, and it does not create a substitute for any kind of therapeutic relationship. I'm here to offer clarity, perspective, some skills, and some absolute no bullshit truth in such a grown-up way. But your healing deserves real life support too. Take what serves you, leave what doesn't, and always get the professional care that you need. Welcome back to No Bullshit Truth Radio. This is the Grown AF edition. Today we're going to be talking about something that sits beneath the surface of every healing journey, every new venture, every relationship shift, every belt test I've done in martial arts, every moment when you want to quit. Here's the truth that you need to sit with and why change is so hard. You aren't scared of the work. You're scared of who you'd have to become to keep going. That's the part that makes change so hard. It is absolutely the identity tipping point. And I want to give you an example because it's hit me this week. I've mentioned in several other videos and podcasts that I started taking martial arts a year and a half ago. And I've been in awe of how much the healing journey and martial arts just align with each other in such a beautiful way. The same things that when I was really working on healing and working on becoming whole and becoming the version of myself that I could sit with and be proud of and be content with, it's the same kind of version that you go through with martial arts. And so this last week, I broke my toe. I was practicing outside of class, and I think I hit the bag too hard, and I heard it pop. Got it x-rayed, and as you know, with breaking a toe, there's not a whole lot they can do. They just tape it together, and you just suck it up and move on. But in addition to that, I was feeling kind of defeated, and I have this thing, I'm sure some of you that are high achievers understand that, where you feel like you're going to get behind, and you start to worry about it, and there's just this underlying anxiety that you have around that. And then I went to class and we did my very favorite thing, which is rollovers. It says no one anyway. Yeah, a rollover in jiu-jitsu is very similar to it's not really a somersault, but it's the way that you get away from someone and that might be attacking you. And I didn't grow up being a gymnast. I always played tennis, but I didn't roll. I didn't have to do any of that. So it's been really hard. And so by the end of the night, I just felt defeated. And I was thinking, look how old I am. Like, why am I doing this? Maybe I've reached where I can do, and maybe this is it. And maybe I just need to accept that. And so I was a little frustrated to begin with. But then it hit me on the way home and a little bit later this is the tipping point that I was just talking about. It is, who do you have to become to keep going when you feel incapable? And that's where people quit. It's why they get the black belt and that's all they do, and then they never come to martial arts again because they were focused on the goal and not so much who they were becoming in that journey. Who do I have to become to move through this hard period? Growth is hard and change is uncomfortable, and sometimes we don't want to sit in that discomfort. We want it to be pain-free, we want it to be easy, so we quit. And it's not because you can't do it, and it's not because I can't do the role. It's because I have to change the identity around what's required to feel like I can do it. And sometimes it feels too far away for all of us, and that's the work that you have to do, is sitting with that truth that I have to ask myself that question, who do I have to become now? I'm a big research person. I'm a nerd. I'm a total nerd. I love to read research. I love to read evidence-based techniques and things that I think will help people understand better. So your brain is required to protect your current identity. That's the way our brain is wired, to sit in the comfort. That's why it's so hard when we have a goal to stick with it. Why we gain weight back after we've lost weight. Why it's hard to get out of that relationship even though it's not serving us anymore, is our brain is trying to protect us with our current identity. It treats change like physical danger. So moving towards that next space, that next place you have to go is a threat to the identity that you've held before. And so to try something new, a role in martial arts, a boundary that you set with someone, a business, a truth you're telling yourself, a new relationship, it activates that same alarm system as a real threat. And so your brain is whispering to you, stay where you are, stay who you are, it's much safer here. It's that identity dissonance, that uncomfortable gap between who you are and who you're becoming. I'm going to say that again so you hear that. There's that gap between who you are and who you are becoming. Most people interpret that discomfort as a sign to stop. But it's actually the doorway to transformation. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. Because it's one of the things I understand about myself. It's taken a long time for me to understand or to have that wisdom or to have that perspective of when things get hard, it's asking me the question, who do I have to become now to do this? That's the identity shift, and that's how we stick with something, is through figuring out who am I going to become as a result of that. And our nervous system is very unfamiliar with that version of you. It wants predictability, not evolution. And that's the way our nervous system is set up. So this is why you quit when things get hard. Not because you can't do the thing, but because this is the way your nervous system is calibrated to who you've been. And so the question becomes, okay, well then what do I do about it? I have this goal and I get to a certain place and then I quit. Or I've become way too comfortable and stuck with where I am, and I know this relationship's not serving me. I know I've always wanted to try this business, and I know I need to make some changes, but it's so hard. That's where we need to have the conversation about capacity. Really what you're doing is you're building capacity and you're recalibrating your nervous system. So the first thing you ask yourself is, who do I want to become, or who do I have to become to do this thing? Well, if I want a healthy relationship, then I have to become someone that takes care of myself, is honesty and loyal and embraces vulnerability and knows that I have to grow. If I want to do this rollover in martial arts, I know that I've got to be a little bit more fearless. I've got to work on my confidence that I can do it. And I've got to stop saying, I could never do this when I was younger. I could never do. I've got to stop. I got to take that out of my vocabulary. And then the second part, when you identify who you're going to have to become, is putting in some consistent work in small acts of courage, which we'll talk about later, to increase your capacity. It's really about growth is increasing your capacity. And sometimes we try to move through it too quickly, and it's too much and it overwhelms us. So then we quit, or we ghost that person, or then we back away because our nervous system is a wreck. So it's increasing your nervous system capacity a little bit at a time. As most of you know, the ones that know me and work with me, I'm a pretty spiritual person. And when I talk about spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about looking at things that are greater than yourself. Things that can keep you embodied and grounded. And spirituality has always been one of those things for me. If you're not a spiritual person, that's okay. Just take what you like and leave the rest. But I always want to add something for everyone. let's talk about spiritual tradition and what it says about change. You are not meant to stay who you are. You are meant to evolve. And if we look at the world right now, we fight it. We fight transformation. We fight evolving with everything that we have. But becoming is not a past betrayal. It is not a betrayal to your past self. It is the fulfillment of your soul's trajectory. Becoming is not a betrayal of your past self. It is the fulfillment of your soul's trajectory. We are meant to evolve. Over the years, I've had people come to me for therapy, not really knowing why they're depressed or not knowing why they're anxious or why they're drinking too much or why they feel stuck. And a lot of it is because they're fighting their growth and who they have to become now. Why do I keep going back to the same person? Because I'm fighting who I need to be in this next season of my life. It's not a betrayal of past people that no longer serve where you're going and where you're becoming. I don't think everything's meant to last forever. I'm not saying that you don't have long-term partnerships or relationships, but when you're both no longer willing to grow and you're not willing to make the changes that you need to make to grow and evolve in the relationship, that's where we start to suffer. We start to suffer with ourselves when we fight evolution. All of us do it, by the way. So it's not a shame or a blame thing. But think about when you've allowed yourself to do something you feel passionate about or something that really fulfills you. Think about how light you feel. It's because your soul is pulling you there. It's the fulfillment of your soul's trajectory. So listening to how you feel, how your body feels. Do you feel grounded in this situation? Do you feel embodied? And you're not going to feel that all the time, but understanding that you are meant to change. You are meant to evolve. There is never a final form. There's never a final form with healing. You are going to be working on healing the rest of your life. There's no finished version of you. There's no I've arrived. There's only becoming. And we spend so much time wanting to know what the end result is that we don't take situations and think, okay, what can I learn here? And how can I grow? And what can I see? Looking at relationships, we're so black and white. We see it as success or failure. So maybe the things that didn't work out are teaching you how to evolve into this next version of yourself. The way you transform and evolve is taking that wisdom and what you've learned and applying it. So healing is becoming. It's becoming who you need to be now. Growth is becoming. Life is about becoming. There is only becoming. And that is where the work starts, is looking at who you're becoming. Identity change really isn't just a change in mindset. It isn't just sitting around doing affirmations. I like affirmations, and I definitely think they can be valuable. But if you already aren't feeling good about yourself or there's some low self-worth, affirmations aren't going to work. Really, it isn't just I can go in there and start believing in myself and I'm going to do it. Actually, identity change is behavioral and it's neurological, and then there's a spiritual component. So you become the person who can do the role in martial arts by attempting it, even when you fail. You become the person that is healthier in relationships by attempting to have relationships, even if it's not perfect or you don't show up 100% of the time like you want to. That's the point, is learning and growing together. And I think sometimes we haven't learned how to move through that discomfort. We just ghost the person or we just take off because we don't want to do the work of communicating the truth and our vulnerability. So we just check out. But growth happens in relationships. Growth happens in attempting the role in martial arts and not getting it right. It attempts those small micro moments of courage. You expand your nervous system when you stay present in the discomfort without abandoning yourself. So it's staying present. It is not allowing yourself to abandon yourself by quitting. So the question I always ask myself when I'm frustrated or feel defeated and I'm thinking maybe I don't want to do this anymore is, will I respect myself if I quit? And usually the answer comes up with no. The other question you could ask yourself is, will I respect myself if I stay? That could be in a relationship. Will I respect myself if I stay in this relationship? Will I respect myself if I stay in this job? But will I respect myself if I quit on my goals? So those are some questions to ask yourself. You build your identity through micro bravery, small acts of courage that compound over time. You just move a little slower. And that's the thing I had to remind myself this week is like, why am I in a hurry? I don't, because I'm always going to be becoming. I'm always going to be growing. So there isn't a rush. It is small acts of bravery over time that compound and expand your nervous system so that it can handle the new identity you're becoming. So you can hold all the things that you're becoming now. It's when you release that old self, the one who felt safe and small and familiar, so that you can evolve. And it's understanding that there is no path where it's not going to feel uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. And then the spiritual part is this act of surrender, trusting the process, the path, and the unfolding. If you get knocked off the path you're not supposed to be, you're going to be redirected to the right path. If something didn't work out, it's because it's not supposed to. And we keep hanging on to it, hoping that we can fix it, or I can fix this problem, or maybe I'll work this out this time. But part of it is just surrendering and trusting if this didn't work out, it's where I'm not supposed to be. The vision I always give my clients when I work with them is like, you're going down a river. If you and I were river rafting and we were going down a river and we've got the oars in our hand and we are fighting against the current. The current's coming this way and here's the boat. We're constantly running into that current. We're not going to get where we need to be because we keep fighting it. We keep trying to get control. But if we let go of those oars, that river's going to direct us where we need to be. It's about getting into the flow and trusting your path, trusting your unfolding. And it's really hard to do because we cling for safety and certainty. We want to know. But here's the truth that we all have to sit with in our own bodies is uncertainty is a part of life. It's a part of what happens. My toe's going to heal. I'll eventually get the rolls. My body will learn what it needs to learn. And so will you when you make changes. You're going to figure out what it means to find a healthy partner. You're going to figure out what you need to do to get that promotion. You're going to figure out what you need to do to change. You're going to figure out what you need to do to stick with exercise or to drink more water. Because it's the identity that you're building. The one who stays, the one who tries, the one who evolves. And that's the real transformation. There is no final goal. There's only who you become in the process, and that is such a beautiful thing. When I was working on healing, I started to love who I was becoming. I was loving all of it. Who I was becoming, the kind of person that was a little softer, more open, was really enjoying working on my goals and being creative. When you stop resisting who you're becoming, you stop quitting on yourself. And I think that's the tragedy. We always think the real tragedy is when someone betrays us, but I don't think that's the real tragedy. Yes, it hurts, and I don't want to minimize that. The real tragedy is when you betray yourself. So I always want to end this with the 5 journal questions for you to ask yourself. And you can stop and go back and really think about these questions. But the first question is, what part of my current identity feels threatened when I try to grow? So the part of you that wants to stay the same, and where does that come from? What part of my current identity starts to feel threatened? Maybe it's the part of my identity that clings to safety, the part of my identity that hates uncertainty. Where do I cling to an old version of myself because it feels familiar, even though I know it no longer serves me? What would the next version of me do today? Remember, small acts, micro acts of consistency and bravery. What discomfort am I trying to avoid that is actually part of my becoming? I know for mine, one of the things that I try to avoid is discomfort is what people think. And that's why it took me so long to get on trying to do part of showing people who I am through social media and podcasts and all these other things. Is that's the part of myself I avoid, is what people think. And so I've had to sit through that discomfort of there are going to be people that support me and cheer me on, and there are going to be people that don't. And that's part of my growth, is embracing the people that like what I'm doing and the people that don't. And who am I afraid to become and why? Marianne Williamson is a spiritual teacher. She has a beautiful quote that says, and I'm probably not going to say this right, but we aren't afraid of the dark, we're afraid of the light. And our ability to become something amazing and be success. We're a lot more afraid of our success than we are our darkness. And I think that's absolutely true. One of the things I promised is I know that not everybody has access to mental health care or can afford therapy. So every episode I want to highlight a book that I've read or that I think would be really helpful to people who are learning to become, and they're working on their own healing, and they're working on their journey of growth and evolving. So the book this week I would recommend is What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu. It's a memoir that she's living with complex PTSD. And for those of you that don't know what PTSD is, post-traumatic stress disorder, complex PTSD has a little bit of a different flavor. Post-traumatic stress disorder is somebody that's had a traumatic event. We usually think of people with PTSD as military, but one of the things we know is that PTSD happens with kids, it happens in systems, it happens with people that have been assaulted, it happens with people that have been in car wrecks. Death can be traumatic, somebody in your family dying, divorce. I've worked with people that have PTSD symptoms as a result of divorce or infidelity. Complex PTSD has a little bit of a different twist to it because it's more than one traumatic event that's happened in their life. But in addition, it affects relationships and their ability to feel stable. There's a lot of internalized shame that people with complex PTSD have to work through. So I think this is a great book to anybody that struggles with PTSD or anybody that has a loved one that struggles with trauma or has had some pretty severe trauma. The other thing I like about her is she's from the Asian community, so she also talks about culturally how that affected her. And she also talks about her community, and also she talks a lot about nervous system regulation. One of the things I really like is her journey in finding a therapist, because she had some therapists that were helpful and some therapists that were not. So I think this is a really beautifully written book. It's deeply invalidating for anyone who's been through trauma. It wasn't about her becoming a new person, but it was about her reclaiming the parts of herself that she was never allowed to be. And I thought it was just beautifully written. What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu. To wrap everything up, if today's episode resonated with you and you're ready to do the identity work, the real work, you can find my courses, guides, and resources at www.strongheartwarriorproject.com. If you're navigating betrayal, working on your boundaries, or rebuilding your sense of self, check out my Betrayal Recovery Guide. It's trauma-informed, direct, and designed to help you reclaim your identity with clarity and self-respect. I did a lot of work on this betrayal guide, and I'm really proud of it. It is evidence-based and very well researched, and what I wish I would have had when I was working through betrayal. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for your becoming, and thank you for choosing the version of you that keeps going every day. See you next time.